Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Tie. What day is the tie?
It's hump day.
It's hump day. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Anthony Hartwig alongside Mr. Ty Bartell as we continue the week. It's been a hectic week already. We're venturing into week 8. Breaking news from the top. We just got into the studio just a few minutes ago, actually. Ursuline and Boardman this week has been canceled. Boardman having a COVID issue. Ursuline has picked up a new opponent. They are going to play Villa Anna St. John's, VASJ. It'll be at Stambaugh Stadium Friday at 7 o'clock. Boardman is obviously shut down for the COVID reasons for this week. So Ursuline loses. Boardman picks up VASJ, and they are looking at least they lit a game. They needed the game.
Yeah, especially when number 2 Boardman in Division 4 right now can't really afford to lose any games and any computer points because they risk of dropping another spot then at that point. So trying to keep pace with West Branch and hopefully jump West Branch or the Irish's hopes obviously going forward, but you need games to be able to do that. So great job by Ursuline to getting one scheduled in the nick of time.
And for Boardman, I mean, I think they're still in a spot where they should be okay for playoffs, but this isn't going to help them as far as where they're placed.
No, not at all. And you know what? Honestly, when we look at where it is, it might drop them to a point where they might not have a chance to grab a home game. But we'll see. I mean, it's an unfortunate time to come down with something
They'll
like
have
that.
2 more games as long as everything is okay after this week for them. So they just got to finish the season strong and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, honestly. And I mean, Boardman's got a solid enough team that pick up a couple of wins. I think they'll be fine.
And that was the news that broke just a few minutes ago in our studio. We are sending it along to you. That is what the third game canceled for the week, but the second that's due to completely a COVID issue. But we've had both games result in new games. So we're picking up. We still have, I believe, 25 games on Friday night. If I'm reading that board right, my vision is terrible, by the way. So I'm looking at the chalkboard across the studio. 2 games on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we have both Warren Harding at Cardinal Mooney and then Southern at Valley Christian. So a couple of very good games.
That one will be very, very good.
Yeah.
Southern and Valley fighting for the EOAC title. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. We have a busy show tomorrow. Today, Scotty Mincher will be in the studio with us at 1, and we'll have some fun with him like we do every week. Ty, it was a big night last night, a lot of volleyball, a lot of soccer, but we're going to start with the Crestview Rebels. It was a very good day to be a Crestview Rebel yesterday. Volleyball wins their 6th straight league championship, and the boys soccer team wins their 4th straight. Domination abounds in Crestview.
Yeah, absolutely. Has some great fall sports going on over there in Crestview right now in all areas, and it's been real fun to see. And I mean, you see the success over there, and it's culminating in some league championships across the board.
And people are saying, "Wait a minute, Crestview's only been in the MVAC for 2 years. How can they win 6 straight league championships?" Well, this dates back to 2015. Crestview won the ITCL 2015, 2016. They were independent in 17. They won the AAC in 2018, 2019, and then last 2 seasons they won the MVAC. So it doesn't matter where you put that volleyball team. They have found success in the last 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And going switching conferences, and I mean, trying to play the best of the best and still coming out on top, as we see what Crestview has been able to do this season. Absolutely impressive.
They beat Garfield in straight sets last night. The scores were 25-10, 25-11, 25-18. Abby Imps might have had the best night of her freshman season. 14 kills for her. She led the team. Lucy Montgomery and Grace Hour both had double doubles. No shocker there. And we'll take that time to remind you that Grace Hour is up for Baird Brothers Player of the Big Dog of the Valley this week. And if you're a Crestview fan, make sure to go out and vote for her. Voting is unlimited and ends Saturday at midnight. Some other scores to report from last night as we look at Lisbon got their 5th win of the season. They beat Valley Christian in 3 sets, 25-22, 25-16, 25-9 over Valley. Eliza Baker continues to impress, double-double on the night for her, 13 kills, 18 digs. Parker Hurthorn and Kelsey Burns finished with 5 kills apiece. McKenna Daly led the defense with 26 digs. Lisbon will move on to play Thursday. They travel to Latonia. Valley Christian, they will go to Columbiana on Thursday. They'll host Columbiana. I'm sorry. So Lisbon starting to right the ship a little bit. This was a team that they have, I believe, 3 wins in the last 6 games. So starting to get a little bit of momentum under their belts as they figure things out.
Yeah, and I mean, right time to do so as well, right before the start of the tournament. So you're getting things right on track, and that's good to see over there for that program.
By the way, the broadcast last night from Rick Daly was just on point. If you don't have a chance to watch to tune into Rick Daly do a volleyball game in Lisbon, you better do it before the season's over because it's always very entertaining.
Yeah, and I mean, what we've seen too is I mean, what we have is just a great slew of announcers here on YSN. So it seems like no matter what school you go to, you find a different voice and a different passion for those schools too. As we get some of the best of the best.
You know, I thought our word for Running Point was plethora, and you come out with slew.
Yeah, or surplus, whatever you want to call.
Things up on us, you know. Beaver Local, they bounce back, get back on track on Tuesday. They get the win on the road over Steubenville, 25-6, 25-17, and 25-20. Emma Joseph had 18-6, 6 digs. Bailey Bowserick had 7 kills, 13 digs. Leah Ricardo with 3 kills, 10 digs. Cody Kinsley, 14 digs. They were playing really good defense. Brooke Talbot, 6 kills, 10 assists, 17 digs, double-double for her. Grace Hill, 14 kills, 5 blocks. And Blair Walsicki, 8 kills, 7 digs. So a very balanced stat line for Beaver Local. As we see when they're going well, contributions from a lot of people.
Yeah, and I mean that's the biggest thing for why you become a successful team down the stretch too. It's when those younger players and everyone starts stepping up and you start playing as a team. It becomes a unified whole. It becomes a lot more difficult to try to knock off.
Big night for the Beavers on Thursday. They will play for the Buckeye 8 championship at home against Union Local.
Yeah, and I mean it was and it'll be fun to see too what Beaver Local is able to do before the end of the season.
Yeah, and you know, I think that I was telling DJ this off the air yesterday. This last stretch of games is going to really sharpen their teeth for tournaments. Yeah, they took their lumps. They lost to Wellsville. They lost to Riverview. But Coach Lowe talked about it last week. They wanted to find out where they stood for tournament time. And they played really tough opponents the last week of the season. And this is how they find out.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to play the tough teams to get to be at the top. I mean, to be the man, you got to beat the man, as Ric Flair would say. As we know going into this one, Beaver Local, though, has done a fantastic job this season playing some of the toughest of the tough competition. So you imagine that they'll be fine as they just continue to test themselves before the tournament.
My first time broadcasting in Howland's gym last night. I went to the Tiger Country as they played Canfield They played a lot better than they did against the Cardinals just a couple weeks ago, September 28th. But they still fell. The Cardinals won in 4 sets this time. It was a sweep the last time around. Scores there 25-23, 19-25, 25-23, 25-22. All close sets. In fact, the most lopsided set was the only set that Howland won.
Yeah, and I mean, when you see those ones, you see how close those two teams can battle and how good of a team Howland has over there. It doesn't quite speak to their record as they have a very, very good team over there.
It was such a fun volleyball match, and you've seen them play, so you can kind of contribute. You can attribute to this very balanced attack from Howland. It's not one person doing the show. I mean, Jamie DeSalvo got her kills. Courtney Clark swung really well. Alyssa Masucci also got into the offense a little bit. So a very balanced kind of attack from Howland.
Yeah, they do a good job. They're going to be a tough out in the tournament just because they all really play well. They don't really make too many mistakes, and they play the game the right way. So yeah, definitely going to be a tough out, I think, for anyone in the tournament. It's Howland.
But I'll tell you one thing, and this is for sure. Abby Householder put on a show like she does almost every night. 33 kills for Householder on the night for Canfield. There was a set where she had all the team's kills. That was the second set. She had 9 out of 9. She has just been putting the team on her shoulders this season and taking such of the bulk of the offense and the defense. She had a double-double with 20-plus digs as well.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you need those type of players to step up to get you to that next level, and I mean, that's exactly what she seems to be doing right now.
She is nearing 1,000 kills for her career. We've seen a lot of 1,000 assists, a lot of 1,000 digs. 1,000 kills is very rare, not easy to get. And Abby Householder is quickly approaching that. Not forgetting that senior night comes next Tuesday for them against Austintown Fitch.
It'll be a great night and a big night too for Canfield, as it's going to be another one of those big matchups. Two of the very best volleyball schools, I think, in the area right now in Fitch and Canfield. Round 2, we saw Fitch able to take it at their home court. Now they got to go to Canfield. Should be very fun.
I mean, you can't even write the story better if Abby Householder was able to get 1,000 kills on senior night at home against their biggest rival in Austintown Fitch.
And I mean, it doesn't get any easier too for the rest of or the remainder of the schedule, because even after, I mean, you get a little bit of a break with Harding tonight, who's trying to struggle, but I mean, you end the season Fitch and then undefeated Girard away. So I mean, it doesn't get any easier for Canfield, as they're going to end their season with some tough competition, getting them ready for tournament time.
That's the way it should be, because as we know, Canfield is the smallest Division I team in the state, so they're going to have their hands full for the whole tournament come tournament time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what they do? They do a great job too. So it'll be interesting to see how they make their adjustments and how ready they are.
And when you talk about, I was talking to Coach Scott last night, and she just goes, "We're just getting our feet under us because we've been relying so much on some young players. We forget, because Abby Householder has been a star for years, and she's going to Youngstown State, but we forget that this is a young Canfield team with a lot of new faces on this varsity roster."
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they do, like I said, they're doing a great job for how young they are. I mean, they're stepping up into big roles, and I mean, it's really been a huge part of why Canfield's been so successful.
Abby Muckleroy had a handful of blocks as well, so she's starting to find her rhythm on defense and trying to get more involved in the offense as well. I think that's the key. I think if they can get their middles involved, then good luck stopping Abby Householder at all. I mean, there are teams that kind of just put all their defensive eggs in the Householder basket and say, we're going to stop her from getting 25, 30 kills and let someone else beat them. So if they can get their middle involved, specifically Abby Muckleroy, then Canfield's going to be a really tough team to beat.
Yeah, I think so as well. So it'll be interesting to see. A tough out for sure. I think all those teams in the AAC
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
We saw McDonald drop a really tough one at LeBray on Monday. They bounce back and get revenge over Middle Ridge on Tuesday, earn the season split with the Rams as they win in 4 sets. The scores there 25-21, 17-25, 27-25, 25-21. Gianna Constantino led the Blue Devils in kills and earned a double-double, 15 kills, 20 digs. That's an impressive stat line. Maria Rizil, double-double the other way. She had 18 assists, 23 digs. Megan Klockner, third Blue Devil to get a double-double, as she had 23 assists, 21 digs. Sherry Elise Bonilla led the defense with 35 digs for the Blue Devils. And they return home on Thursday. They host Sebring. Middle Ridge will try to bounce back Saturday as they go on the road to face Columbiana in a non-conference battle.
Yeah, good. Another one of those good volleyball matchups. October 14th, things start wrapping up, so catch them while you can. There's a lot of good matchups in the area.
Nice to see McDonald bounce back from a tough loss on Monday, and a loss where they had to exude a lot of energy. I mean, that was a volleyball match on Monday with LeBray that had a lot of long volleys. It was just grueling, and it went 4 sets, but every set was competitive. You had to use a lot of energy to get out of that match. And then you go back the next day against a team that beat you earlier in the season, and it's another long, grueling match. All these sets very close, very competitive. One that went into extra points, 27-25. McDonald able to show some resiliency and pull this one out.
Yeah, McDonald has a solid volleyball program over there, and they proved that last year, proving it again this year as they get ready for tournament.
Lakeview, they continue their run. They are not going to win the NE8 this year, but their only losses have come to undefeated Girard and undefeated Crestview. As they have 3 losses on the year, they go to Jefferson and plant their flag in the Falcons Dome. 4 sets for them, 27-25, 25-20, 23-25, and 25-20. Balanced Bulldog attack. 3 attackers with double-digit kills for Lakeview. Tara Lytle led the way. She had 19 kills. Emma Schmader, big night as well. Double-double for her, in fact. 13 kills, 11 digs. And then Reagan Price was also in double figures. 12 kills for her. Maddie Bayes led the defense with 20 digs for the Bulldogs. And Maggie Pavlansky continues to improve that career assist number. She already hit 1,000 earlier in the year. She has 24 assists on the night and added 3 blocks. Lakeview finishes their NE8 slate on Thursday. They will travel to Hubbard. Jefferson will stay at home on Thursday to host league-leading Girard. So tough one for Jefferson. They have to bounce back against they play number 2, and then they have to play number 1. They're sitting in number 3. So Jefferson just trying to end the season strong with a win over Girard.
I mean, it might be a blessing in disguise, too, playing 2 very, very tough opponents before the tournament starts, too. So this will give Jefferson some good exposure versus some very quality teams. And we'll see. Someone might be able to stop Girard. I mean, you never know until the season's ending. Only one team. Only one team from each division, that is. It's possible of going undefeated the entire year.
I think Girard is feeling some Jefferson starship. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
Yeah, and it's gonna be it'll be interesting.
They're rolling in the gyms with that swagger, and I just feel like Girard, if they were gonna stumble, it was gonna be earlier in the season. I feel like now they're just
there's certain teams that do that. I mean, certain teams that are undefeated right now, but other teams that are that aren't, but they have that swagger. Your Beaver Locals, your Crestviews, your Girard, your Austintown Fitches, your Western Reserves. There's certain volleyball teams that just feel different when they enter the gym. It's a different.
You're absolutely right. Like Girard enters the gym, and they just know they're going to win that night. And it says this, and then you look over there, and as the opposing team, it's got to be almost an intimidation factor.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing with Girard and what makes them so good is, I mean, what they're able to do net defense-wise is incredible. I mean, they put some tremendous height on it, so they get a lot of blocks up front, so it's very hard to get around them to try to get kills on the initial swing. Very good serves, very good serve receive too from Gerard. I mean, rarely do they make mistakes in either of those categories, and that's one of the biggest areas where you see teams make a decent amount of mistakes. And honestly, what we see with Gerard too, on the topic of mistakes, they capitalize on mistakes and they maximize their opportunities on mistakes you make. So you see teams, they're able to get leads on Gerard in sets. You're able to get up maybe 12-7 on them. But the second you make a mistake, maybe a bad serve and a point goes Gerard's way and they get it back, that's all they need to open up the floodgates. And that's why it's so hard to beat them. You almost have to play a perfect set of volleyball against them because quite frankly, that's pretty close to what they're playing. So you got to have a very, very limited number of mistakes to come on top of this Gerard team.
You know what makes this whole scope exciting? Lakeview and Gerard are both extremely young and bringing back most of their team next year. So the battle between these two teams in the NE8, not done by a long shot. Lakeview just one senior. I believe Gerard has two. Bree Littell and Lauren Plone are both sophomores, so they're coming back for 2 more years. The battle between Lakeview and Gerard in the NE8 is not done by a long shot.
Not to mention Hubbard, Niles, Struthers, all very young and up-and-coming volleyball teams with very solid JV programs as well. So you're looking at a lot of fun in the NE8 for volleyball.
Even Jefferson, sitting at number 3, has a lot of young talent. I know they're going to lose Taylor Skinner, who's a big part of what they do, especially with their net defense. Probably, in my opinion, the best blocker in the NE8. But you know, they still have a lot of young pieces back there in Jefferson that's going to make them something to be heard from, sitting in that 3 spot as we wrap up the NE8 season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who steps up and who survives the gauntlet of the NE8 as years come.
Speaking of the NE8, South Range ended their 5-game losing streak at home again on senior night. They get the season split of Hubbard as they beat the Eagles in 4 sets. The scores there were 25-20, 20-25, I should say, because Hubbard won the first set. 25-14, 25-20, 26-24. So a big night for the Raiders. Maria Primavera led the offense, 17 kills and a double-double with 15 digs. Allie Sourwine had one of the better nights of her season as she was strong in the middle, 11 kills, 10 digs, and she also had 8 blocks. Something that the Raiders have really struggled with this season is getting net defense and helping out their back row. 8 blocks for Allie Sourwine. That's a big step up.
Yeah, and South Range really is just trying to get their foothold right before the start of the tournament as they came up and they slipped a little bit and they fell a little bit hard. I think they skidded their elbow, but it's nothing that you can't dust yourself off and keep marching forward as South Range does ever so well year in and year out. So I think it's just the right time for the Raiders to really get back on track and find their footing for the tournament. And maybe it's a reminder of why they're all here this season. And maybe you got to remind them one more time that they're playing for something deeper. I don't think so, though. I think they know that. And I think they just had what every other team has is, you have a rough patch. Every team goes through it.
And unfortunately for the Raiders, it's 2 straight seasons now where one of their offensive leaders has gone down and had to miss this chunk of the season. Last year it was Maria Primavera. This year it's Julia Blasco, who they've been missing for a while. And they're trying to just find a new rotation. They've switched from a 6-2 to a 5-1. And they've moved Sarah Coons to an outside hitter, which, she's been a setter the last 2 seasons. So they've just been trying to find a new rotation and find what's going to work for them. I'll tell you, Jamie Farron had a great night running the 5-1, 36 assists for her. And Reagan Irons keeps doing what she's doing, 28 digs to lead the defense. Farron had a double-double, by the way, 18 digs for her to go along with her 36 assists. So a good night for the Raiders as they celebrate their seniors with a win. Peyton Slavesco, Lauren Komarak, and Sydney Ward all led the Eagles with 6 kills apiece. Jillian Reiser had 24 assists, and Delaney Panagal led the defense with 23 digs for the Eagles. South Range, they wrap up their NE8 schedule on Thursday. They will travel to Niles. Hubbard, they will return home to wrap up their NE8 slate on Thursday as well. They host Lakeview.
Yeah, a couple other good games too, and it's going to be another tough one for Hubbard as Lakeview still got them on the slate.
I'm still trying to like get my head around the fact that we're talking about wrapping up the season, wrapping up the NEA season. Like volleyball is almost over. We talked about it yesterday, but there's like 2 weeks left.
Football's almost over too. I mean, there you got to remember too. I mean, football doesn't go much longer than volleyball. But 2 weeks left, we got 3 games left for football before the start. I mean, we're going to be in playoffs for fall sports here real shortly.
Football just seems like it goes longer because you're waiting a week between games.
Yeah, I mean, no weeks. It's just more time in between games.
In reality, you're right. I mean, volleyball ends and the football regular season ends the week after. It didn't used to be that way. Remember, this year, football actually started the Friday before the volleyball season. Usually, volleyball is like your appetizer. You get like a week of volleyball, and then that Friday football starts. So usually, volleyball is wrapping up in like week 8. And you're like, oh man, we have 3 weeks of football left.
They're ending it right at the same time. So tournament, I mean, volleyball is going to be at some point in the middle of their tournament when football playoffs start. So that's going to be exciting.
Usually the district championships align with like week 2 of the playoffs. So this year it'll probably be like week 3 of the playoffs. Since
that'll be interesting.
Taking a week
the playoffs for football and really deep in the playoffs for volleyball. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Brackets should be coming out very soon for volleyball, as probably this weekend. I would assume is the tournament draw and the brackets being aligned, because usually the 2 weekends before the sectional start, or at least this weekend the draw, and then next weekend the bracket alignment.
Yeah, it'll for sure be interesting to see which teams come out of it and where the brackets align, as we're excited to see.
What's be fun? As soon as those brackets come out, we're gonna have a show dedicated to unpacking every bracket and breaking down the matchups and who we think's going to advance. And bracket time's going to be fun for our first bracket time on this new era of Running Point. I can't wait.
Yeah, we got bracket time for that, as well as football too. And it's interesting because I've made the comment that it feels a little bit closer to college sports, because now, I mean, 3 weeks left in the regular season. It's about time we got to start addressing these teams about where they're ranked now, because it has a significance too. So when we talk about Struthers, that's 15 ranked Struthers in Division 4. And I think it's right that we bring up these reminders too, because 16 and you're in. The Sweet 16 is what you're looking for. And it is so sweet to be in that top 16, because anything out of it, you're on the outside looking in. So it's still, you got to earn your way into the playoffs, and it's coming down to the final few games of the season. A lot of teams are fighting to make it in right now.
The South Range Raider boys soccer team, got the big 9-0 win over Lakeview. And Camden Thomas, who is one of the better soccer players in the area, had a great night for South Range. They get the win. Ursuline gets the draw 2-2 with their soccer game. Poland, they continue rolling. Remember last week, Poland had the slip up against South Range, as that was their first loss of the season, first regular season loss in, I believe, 36 games for Poland. But they bounced back last night, final 5-1 over Girard. Noah Huda had 2 goals. Joseph Hillier had 2 goals, and someone that Derek Thomas, and then for Derek, I'll just do the DT, salute, and he had a goal as well for Poland. Assists went to Tyler Mill and Aiden Davis, and Poland will play at Hubbard next. So Poland, they bounced back that disappointing loss to South Range last week, but they're still, I believe, 6th in the latest poll for Division 2 in soccer. So they're still running high. They what I think they did really well is they didn't let that loss to South Range define their season.
No, and you can't, because if you do, I mean, it's going to be a snowball effect, and it's just going to get larger than you need it to be.
Like it was a tough line. It was 5-0 5-1, excuse me. South Range came in and just owned that game, and Poland just had to kind of wash that away. They probably watched the film once and then burned it.
You got teams have that though. Teams have that. Players have that. Nobody is immune. Everybody is susceptible to bad games and bad days, and
that's what makes high school sports so fun. Like we talk about, like when the playoffs are going to be a bunch of blowouts, but maybe not 116. I mean, but you can see some of these three seeds or 4 seeds have that. All it takes
5-12. You're going to see, I think, a decent amount of upsets.
All it takes is one bad night.
Yeah. Absolutely, especially if you're looking at the other side and your number 11 seed is something like a JFK, like we were talking about. Like that is a possibility that something like that happens. And there is some teams in the lower portion of the seedings that are going to be tough outs. You look at D7. You have both Valley Christian at a 10 seed and Wyndham at a 12 seed right now. Both of those are some pretty darn good football teams.
I mean, every sport that we talk about, whether it be soccer, volleyball, or football, there are teams that are really, really good in the area, but that regular season record means nothing if you have that one bad night in the playoffs. And it could happen. There are teams scattered throughout the whole district that are maybe not like the 1 seeds, but that are good enough to beat you if you don't show up.
Absolutely,
I think Cardinal Mooney is a great example in Division 3, whatever bracket they fall into, whether it be Crestviews or maybe the 2 seed, whoever ends up being the 2 seed. Their record is going to put them at a middle, at best a middle seed, like a 10 or 11.
Yeah,
they are very good, especially in the scope of Division 3. You can't sleep on Cardinal Mooney. South Range is in the same boat. Yeah, their record isn't good, and they're probably going to get a lower seed, but they play nothing but Division 2 and 1 teams almost exclusively, at least Division 2. So
and that's a big thing too, especially when we're talking computer points wise. And I mean, in all those sports too, soccer, football, volleyball, all it takes is one night and one game of someone maybe a little bit off of their game too. Maybe one of your star players is a little bit off their game. Maybe one of the star players on the other team's on, and they are on, and you can't stop them. And like you said, it's a beautiful thing about high school sports, the unpredictability of it.
It is really hard to upset someone in volleyball because you have to beat them 3 sets.
Yeah.
But we still see it. It can still happen. It can definitely happen in soccer.
The beautiful thing with volleyball too, and what makes it even more difficult in a sense, is because you have to beat your opponent. So there's no curving the momentum with a clock and saying, all right, we'll just burn this clock and curve their momentum and we won't have to worry about it. If a team's coming back on you, they're coming back on you, and you have to stop it. There's no other choice.
And what I think makes upsets more impressive in volleyball is, in my opinion, there is no way to win a volleyball match without absolutely being the better team that night.
You have to. It's very similar to baseball in a sense, like that. You have to give your opponent their chance. You have to send the ball over the net and give them a chance. And that's the beautiful thing with volleyball, is it's very hard to come up with excuses on why you lost a volleyball game, other than just saying that was the better team that night.
The Salem boys, soccer team, they moved to 9-5-1 on the year. They get the win over Heartland Christian 3-0. Their next match is Tuesday against West Branch, and we know how big that one will be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As West Branch is a phenomenal program as well. It'll be fun.
Let's see. Middle Ridge boys soccer beats Brookfield 5-2 on the night. More scores as Hubbard beats Jefferson 7-0. We have Warren Harding loses to Fitch. I believe that final was 5-3.
Warren Harding got a solid squad over there in soccer, and they're getting a lot better. I'll have to give them that.
And that'll wrap up the soccer scores for the night. Last night, a lot of action on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just gearing you up for another great week of sports. We have so much to talk about too. I mean, now that we're wrapping up, getting through the hump day, we know what's on the other side of the hump for the next 2 days and what sport we're going to be talking about it. And it's going to be a very interesting week for football. I mean, of course, we'll be talking a little bit about it today. It's hard for us not to keep bringing football up when it's so prevalent in the Valley. But no, it's just a lot of sports, soccer, volleyball, football, all winding down right now. This is a very exciting time. I think when Christmas comes around, we talk about the time before playoffs start and tournaments start. It's like Christmas Eve for us here at YSN. I think it's officially considered the month of December where we could start talking about the playoffs. Those nuisance of people that love to talk about Christmas like in September, way before Christmas even starts. We have to give them that leeway period and say you could start talking about Christmas a little bit after maybe Thanksgiving, start in December. Well, it's about December now in YSN's mind, and we're talking playoffs now for all three of these sports as it's right around the corner. There's some fantastic matchups. I cannot wait until we get some of these brackets and some of these sports.
Let's give a shout out also to the Struthers girls tennis team. They were district qualifiers from Daniela Mendel, Emma McConnery, and Ella Croyle all qualify for districts in Struthers girls tennis. So I want to give them a shout out as well. We like to shine a light on as many athletes as possible. And if we get the updates and we get the scores, we'll definitely be putting them up on Running Point.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, we know too, I mean, golf had a fantastic season in the area. I believe still wrapping up too. I'm not sure where they went though. It's next week, right?
Sectionals were this week, so the districts will be next week.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I thought districts were next week. I couldn't remember where the location was on that. But I'll check on that and I'll get that on that. But I know golf's in the full swing of theirs already, as they're kind of the preview before the other tournaments and everything start. But golf, we understand too. They've gotten some great weather too.
Yeah, they usually have to kind of beat the weather, but right now, knock on wood, their tournament weather has been phenomenal.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully we get some more of the weather we're seeing outside right now. Beautiful October weather, and I mean, I'm sure the golfers aren't.
Sure you got windows in that prison cell?
yeah, I got a sole window in my cell.
Not like that one you have at Kenton, like it has the bars on the window. You can barely see out of it.
Yeah, I know. The Kent window is pretty jail cell-esque, if I may say so myself.
Oh man, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll continue the Wednesday edition of Running Point next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring. And, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the four words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as we continue this Wednesday edition. Got to pop Ty in. Oops, I popped him out. There's Ty. This mouse is very sensitive and sometimes it gives me fits, but we got it. Ty, I want to give a shout out to a commitment that we have in the YSN family. From the softball world, Maddie Lester from Boardman has committed to Cal U to continue her softball career and academic career at Cal U, not Cal Berkeley. So when I first heard someone back in maybe like 10 years ago, one of my classmates said she was gonna go to Cal U. I was like, oh, you're going to California? Okay, gonna be a Golden Bear. No, I was quickly proven. No, that's not it. There's a California University in Pennsylvania. So, but Maddie Lester's going to go there. Another member of Team Hartwig. Check. So
you won't know what state you're going to, but he sure as heck knows you're on his team.
No, now. Now. I didn't know 10 years ago. I know now. Like I know exactly where you're going now. A phenomenal pitcher, a great hitter, and a good second baseman as well when she's not pitching. So Maddie Lester is going to bring a lot to Cal U's team, but not before she does that. She's going to bring a lot to Boardman softball in her senior season this year. Going into her senior season, knowing where she's going to go. I think that's so important when seniors get to commit before their senior season starts. The stress of recruiting and trying to put yourself out there isn't there anymore, and you can just really, really focus on how to make your team better that particular season.
Well, yeah, now your goal is winning the whole thing. I mean, now your goal can move to what every other team's goal is going into it. Because, I mean, whether or not you're going into every season, that should be at the top of every team's goal. And that doesn't matter where you are in the process of if you're rebuilding your team, if you're reloading your team, if this is a year where you're just trying to get better, if this is a year where you think you're competing. I think the goal for every team at the beginning of the year, game one of the season, is everyone's 0-0. Everyone has the same record. Our goal right now is state championship. And when you don't have to worry about having to, like you said, showcase yourself and try to get scouted, try to find those schools, try to find somewhere where you can get offers and scholarship opportunities. Now that you have that whole weight lifted off your shoulders and you can focus on one thing, and it's the thing you do best, is play softball. I think it's going to be very dangerous, and you're going to see Boardman have a very good season this year because you have players like that. When a player like that, too, of her caliber, and she's the pitcher, it's going to make for a fun season, I think, for Boardman, because you're going to be seeing a lot of her, and she's going to be very focused, and that's going to be dangerous.
And Boardman returning a lot of players. I mean, we'll talk obviously more when softball season gets closer, but returning a lot of players from last year as well that'll make that team very dangerous. They were the only team to beat Fitch in the AAC last year. They knocked them off towards the end of the season. It spoiled Fitch's undefeated season in the AAC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Fitch is going to be another one of those teams that has a great softball program.
They do lose Lydia Spalding.
Yeah, they do. They do. And I mean, as unfortunate as it is, Fitch has a fantastic softball program, and they've had one for quite some time. So it might be a fun battle in the AAC next year.
I'm a softball junkie itching for it already. I can just feel like talking about them. It's like, fall ball started. YSU's already had a couple of fall ball games, and I'm just sitting here like, get back to spring, give me good weather. Not no disrespect to basketball season, but if we could hop the winter and go right to softball season.
See, that's my forte right there. Basketball season. I have a special place in my heart for basketball season, and that's what I love too. Because I mean, I love it. I love boys and girls basketball. I love going to those teams in the area. I love it. I'm excited for that, but we have.
Let me ask you, because you said basketball is like we had sweetheart schools. That's your sweetheart season, right? Like that's your
girls basketball is where I got my start in broadcasting. So basketball as a sport, it's the first sport I learned how to broadcast. Not the first sport I loved, and it wasn't my favorite sport. Baseball has always been my favorite sport through and through, but it's definitely the first sport I learned how to broadcast. So I have a special place in my heart for it every time it comes around. Because it brings up those memories, but it brings back that feeling too of just being in that same gym where I started 6 years ago now. Is absolutely it's a special feeling. But yeah, I have a special place in my heart for basketball.
All that being said, now that fall is kind of wrapping up a little bit, we're starting to get to the end of the fall season. Would it be accurate to say that you're like that meme of the guy walking down the street with his girlfriend, but looking over, and it's like that's basketball season, and you got football, volleyball, soccer season walking with you, but you're like giving a little bit of an eye on basketball season.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in some sense, I don't know though, because I really enjoyed the
I get that at the end of basketball season, like looking towards softball, baseball.
I'm just kind of like that meme we saw last year of the guy that was on the skateboard drinking the cranberry juice with with Stevie Nicks and them going on behind them. I mean, it's just I'm just enjoying the ride. That's all I am. I'm just cruising through the seasons, enjoying the ride, just having a great time. But no, I don't want to look too far ahead to basketball season, even though when that does come up, you're going to hear me talk about it a lot. I'm going to get super passionate about the basketball teams in the area.
You have no side eyes towards winter season. Like you have no like.
That's the one thing I look forward to in the winter, and it's the one thing that gets me through the winter is basketball season, and that's what I love about it. But
I'm guessing you can't wait for our basketball previews.
Oh, I can't wait till we start talking basketball previews. There's going to be a lot of fun teams in the area.
There's going to be a week like there was before football and volleyball season, where we just have to take that week, chunk it out, and do basketball previews.
It'll be kind of easier now because we'll just do the schools and we'll just double up girls team, and we could talk both basketball programs of the school. So we could knock out both programs in a day and then we could just call it a 2-for-1, kind of like your 2-shot free throws. There you go, or call it the and one, the YSN and one. That's it right there. You're 1-1. But anyway, as before we got off track too, we still have a lot of things to talk about too. Football. There's a lot of things that could possibly change in the standings too. And of course, we're going to talk more about football in our previews tomorrow.
I want to look at those standings because we didn't really get to on
Yeah.
Monday because we didn't have a show on Monday.
And
Can we talk about the playoff standings and where teams sit right now?
so I figured we could go through each region too. We don't have any region 1 teams under our banner, so we could check that at the last, but we'll start here with region 2. Of course, all of these are going to be the Northeast region, so we're going to be talking about regions 5, 9, 13, etc. So looking at it, division 2, you're looking at what really moved the most, obviously, with an Austintown Fitch loss. That's going to drop them. And what we saw with Fitch is I believe they dropped a total of 5 spots all the way to 9. So now losing home field advantage, it sets up currently an 8 versus 9 matchup, home versus Warren Harding and the Raiders. And I know the Falcon fans are looking at that and saying those darn Raiders again, as Warren Harding always seems to pop up at the most inconvenient times, but they're right in the thick of it as well. Also, the other movement in Division 2, Boardman dropping down to 12.
And they're missing a game this week.
Yeah, so it's going to be unfortunate. That sets up, as of right now, if playoffs are to start, a 5 versus 12 matchup with Hudson 6-1. So number 12, Boardman, it's a situation, too, where they might drop for not even playing, and that's unfortunate for them. But you got to imagine, and you look at where the computer points are lining up, and it's all about the average and the computer points. And Ashtabula Lakeside, 6.19, rounded up, 6.38 for Boardman. And we know certain wins attribute to different points you earn over different opponents. So if it's a higher division team, you get more points towards that. But looking at that, if Lakeside wins, it's very possible that the average is enough to at least jump Boardman there. So you got to figure, I mean, there's possibility that Boardman drops. I don't think they drop enough to drop out of the playoff picture, but I think they could drop down in the standings to a 14 seed. And I don't think you want to face a Benedictine or a Nordonia again, first round of the playoffs.
You know, I mean, Boardman's in a really struggle to try to get a home game.
Yeah, at this point they are. And I think Boardman, their best bet, I think there's some favorable teams.
They can get to 11. Who's the 6 right now?
6 is Walsh Jesuit, and
I think that should be like a name. If Boardman can try to get to 11.
Lyndhurst Brush is also your 7 seed, and I think Brush is a favorable matchup as well for Boardman. There's teams on here that I think Boardman can beat, but we saw what Benedictine was able to do with a lot of speed in those skill positions. Very hard team for Boardman to kind of try to handle. Not saying that they can't game plan for it, but I feel like round 1 in Benedictine, I feel like that's not the time. You need to get a little bit of momentum, and I think there's more favorable matchups out there for Boardman.
Well, are you the person that says get the good teams early and try to knock them off before they get playoff momentum, or would you rather see them late when you have the momentum too?
I mean, you can't. If you can choose your schedule, you obviously want to try to make, I guess, the easiest path you can make, but you can't make your schedule. You got to face the teams that line up in front of you. So you take it as an advantage either way, because you know if you do beat that team, if you beat a Benedictine, you knock them off. That's huge too, and you know you got one of the better teams off of
you do that, then your door to the regional finals just goes whoosh. Because I mean, if you beat Benedictine, who can't you beat, right? I mean, that's just the simple thing.
Yeah, honestly, and I mean, it really will make for an interesting end to the season. But those are our 2 teams that we cover in Division 2. So number 9, Austintown, number 12, Boardman. Don't forget, I believe on the slate for them is to face next week. And if all things stay the same, that would be a very big matchup, too, between 2 teams, both in the playoff picture. Coming into next week, of course, Fitch still has a matchup with Wadsworth this week. Division 3 is another one of those interesting ones. And what we saw, too, is that Canfield, with the win, was able to lock down 6th seed now. They were able to, I believe, I believe no, Streetsboro was below them before, so Canfield stays solid at 6. And actually, I believe they were at 5 prior. And I want to say Canfield was at 5 prior because Canfield, I believe, might have dropped, and that could just be due to the wins and due to the computer averages. Looking at what's above them, Chardon, Dover, Aurora, Hubbard, Kenston, and Canfield. So that's another one of the YSN schools. I apologize, Hubbard. Number 4, Hubbard at 7-0. Of course, Chardon, Dover, and
You're
Aurora.
getting the emails from Hubbard.
Yeah, I know. Number 4, Hubbard. Number 6, Canfield. And then the other interesting one, number 17, Niles. Number 19, Howland. And number 20, Cheney. Number 22, East. So you're looking at, what is that? East, Cheney, Howland, and Niles. So 4 YSN teams just on the outside looking in right now. Niles especially being the closest one. And we talk about that matchup with Struthers and how important that is. This is a Division III where Niles is ranked 17. You got to figure a win over Struthers might be enough if some teams in that top 16 lose, which I think is inevitable. I think a couple of them are playing each other this week. Niles might be able to sneak in there then.
I think the biggest question in that division is, can Hubbard go any further up? Because like the biggest team left on their schedule obviously is South Range, and we all know what matchup that's looking to be. But computer points, just raw looking at computer points, that's a Division 5 team. Obviously 2 in Division 5, but still, it probably won't give them enough points to boost them through that division.
Yeah. Right? Because right now the discrepancy between them, Aurora is averaging over 17 points in computer points. Hubbard is 13.76. So it's a hefty chunk of average. And you got to remember, you get, I think, 6.5 is the most you can get for facing an opponent, and that's a D1 opponent, and it goes down increments.
Does that mean Aurora is just having a gauntlet of a schedule?
It very well could be, and that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you that I don't think Hubbard jumps into that top 3 unless Chardon, Dover, or Aurora drop a game. All those teams, Chardon 7-0, Aurora 7-0, and Dover 6-0. Unless one of those teams drop a game, because let's see who Aurora has faced on their schedule. D1 Euclid, they beat St. Vincent, St. Mary, beat Twinsburg, Copley, Cuyahoga Falls, beat Talmadge, beat Cleveland Heights. Those 2 games back-to-back, Cleveland Heights D1, Talmadge D3. Those were 2 huge wins for Aurora this past week. And kind of in my backyard up here in Portage County. And
they are next. Like, who's left on their schedule?
Left for them is, in the last few weeks, is Barberton, Highland, and Revere. Barberton and Highland both away, 6-1 teams in Division 2.
Well, if they're going to lose, it's going to be one of those 2. Because I'm sorry, I don't mean to poop on Revere, but we've seen them, and they're not going to beat Aurora.
So the interesting thing I think this sets up for, because then we have to look at it, that would be 13. So Hubbard would be lined up with Ravenna right now. And if Hubbard was to jump Aurora and go into the 3rd seed, as of right now, that would line them up with New Philadelphia. Now, whether or not that's a better or worse matchup for Hubbard, I think Hubbard is fine either way, but that's kind of another thing you have to watch out for, is if you're jumping, does it actually put you in a better position? Not that any team's going out there and intentionally losing.
I think New Philadelphia is more posed for a quote-unquote upset because they've been there. Like, their program has been very successful. They're historically really good. I'm not saying Ravenna isn't, but like, I feel like, we've seen someone in the YSN family played Ravenna this year and wasn't too impressed with the Ravens.
Yeah, and I mean, it's gonna be, it's a sense too where I think they have a great chance, Hubbard does, if they do face Ravenna. I don't know so much on New Philadelphia. That might give them a little bit of trouble.
I mean, I know we saw New Philadelphia and what they look like against Canfield. Canfield went there and beat them pretty handily, but that's still, playoff football is different. And sometimes the programs with playoff history just look different in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Another team that's on that outside looking in, I wanted to highlight real quick too. The other one that's closer, number 20, Cheney. What they have left on their schedule, of course, Howland this week, Warren Harding next, both of them home, and then finishing out the season with Youngstown East. I tell you what, Cheney wins those next two, it becomes a lot more interesting because you're playing up a division too. In Harding, especially that Harding one. I mean, that's going to be a difficult one, but if you pull off that upset on Harding, that's going to be huge for that program, and that might be enough to put them in it.
What's the gap between 16 and them though? Like the question is, do they have enough?
Yeah, that's a great question. And looking at that, where Cheney's at, it's 3.5 and 16 is 4.3.
So really not that much.
Not a huge, and it's an alliance team that's 16. So it's an alliance team that through the EBC, we know how those teams beat up on each other. And let me look at actually what I wanted
this week, right? Alliance.
Yeah, just checking on who Alliance plays. They got to play, West Branch, and then Louisville, and then Marlington. Louisville obviously having their struggles, but I still think have a good enough program that they could beat a team too, especially an Alliance team that might be taking them a little bit lightly. But they're playing West Branch this week, and unless they have another one of those games like Salem, and that's probably what's putting Alliance in right now, is that win over Salem was probably enough in the points department to get them that big chunk.
Let's as we get into the 1 o'clock hour, we have a guest in the studio. I think you know who it is.
Oh yeah.
So I think I want to bring him into this conversation as we continue to talk about where teams sit. While I bring him up, Ty, let's venture from 3 to 4.
Yeah, looking at Division 4 too. I mean, the biggest thing is number one. Huh?
There it is.
There he is. What's up, Scotty?
Oh, just ready to rock and roll today. I just want you to know, Ty, that I've been working really hard. I got some more doozies for you today. I know you'll be ready, but I'm throwing flames at you.
I'll be ready, Scotty. I'm looking forward to it. Looking at Division 4, though, in the region, I think the only thing a lot of people are focusing on is number 1, West Branch, number 2, Ursuline, because those are the two teams in the area, and that's covered by YSN that are they're tearing it through Division 4. And honestly, with the wins that West Branch just compiled to, and this huge one against Carrollton, one where some people were picking Carrollton in this one, and West Branch yet again proved why they are at the tops of where they are. It's 15.62 for West Branch, 12.89 for Ursuline, so not an insurmountable.
It's a big gap, though.
And it's a big gap. Yeah, it's not insurmountable, but it's a big enough gap where West Branch, barring a total meltdown for these last 3 games of the season, they just keep on pace, keep on course. They likely are locking in that number 1 seed, and that's going to be huge for that program.
Who's 3 right behind Ursuline?
Right behind them, that's going to be Gilmore Academy at Gates Mills. And then you go Perry. Then the other teams too, YSN, that are D4. You got Salem, number 6 Salem. You have number 9 Beaver Local, number 10 Poland, number 13 Girard, and number 15 Struthers. So a lot of D4 representation, and not really much on the outside for YSN schools. No, nothing on the outside for YSN schools that could possibly, I think, get.
Are you surprised that Ursuline stayed at number 2? I know computer points don't factor into what the point differential in a loss was. It's just a loss. It goes against you for a loss, but
I think so, because I mean the wins against Bishop Hartley, which was up a division, big. I mean, your win against Hickory, PA, it's the same division, but it's still points. Win against Fitch, up 2 divisions, big. Win against Harding, up 2 divisions, big. So I think those wins alone are what's big enough to give Ursuline these points, and I think that's kind of where you're seeing the average take Ursuline where it is.
What's the separation between them and Gilmore?
Between Ursuline and Gilmore, Gilmore Academy has 12.20 and Ursuline 12.89. So
it's like
about 0.70. Yeah,
because I know Gilmore's an independent school too, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so as well. And let me see what Gilmore has the rest of the way. They have Brush, Lutheran East, and Trinity. Brush 4 and 2, Lutheran East 3 and 4, Trinity 1 and 6.
Right, so not too impressive the rest of their schedule.
No, not too much. But other ones that are interesting and where you're going to see more movement, I think West Branch and Ursuline, barring, like I said, a meltdown, that might be your 1-2 lock for the rest of the season. Ursuline has a little bit more of a chance at maybe flipping and going 2-3, but I think you got those two pretty much on lock for the season. But you look for the rest of the way down, Beaver Local being 9, Salem being 6. The difference between Salem being 6 and 5 with Fairless, 10.79 to 10.93. Very, very slim margin in the average department. And you got to remember, it's by averages, but wins are going to put in points to that total average, and you're going to see jumps. So looking at that as well, I think that's going to be an interesting one to see if they're going to move. Beaver Local 8.15, Canton South 8.30 from the 9 to the 8 seed. That's very close. Poland right behind Beaver Local 7.86 average. And I mean, those ones are the interesting ones. I think Struthers, though, the biggest thing you look at for the Wildcats, and they have the 15 seed 5.45 in the points average department, where the 16 seed is 4.59 and the 17 4.48. So Struthers, almost a whole point average differential, I think, in Division 4 is huge, as Struthers is trying to lock in playoff hopes. I think another win should put them in really good position to do so.
Play 17 and up in Division 3 in Niles, right? This week.
Yeah, you're playing a D3 opponent. So if you win that one, that's more points too, the computer points that you get. So it will definitely help the average for Struthers if they win it. So that's why that number 17 Niles in D3, number 15 Struthers in D4. That's a huge matchup because something's going to move most likely from a win or a loss from either team.
All right, that is a look at Divisions 2, 3, and 4. We'll hop on 5, 6, and 7 tomorrow and talk about where the playoff standings are and where teams sit. But now I want to kind of bring Scotty in. And Scotty, every week you kind of bring some great topics to the table. What do you want to talk about today?
Today, locally, you guys talking about the divisions and some, teams in matchups to keep an eye on. And today was caught a good part of the Power Hour yesterday, and I thought they brought up some really engrossing points on the show. This first question, it's more for Ty. Anthony, you commented on this a few weeks back. I asked you about Mooney football, and you said it was something to the extent that Mooney will always be Mooney, and you do think they will continue to be a perennial power. You don't think they're done, and then they go out, they get a win, they beat Howland. We all know that they gave Hubbard, who, just about everybody sees as a power, one of the best teams in the area. They gave Hubbard all they wanted. They lost by 1 or 2 points. But I want to know from you guys, and I'm going to start with Ty, because you're into it more intimately than I am with the audible call and with the broadcasting of games. Do you think Mooney, with the schedule they played in getting their first win, do you think it's possible that the Cardinals could still maybe get into the postseason? And the second part of that for Ty is, Ty, do you believe that Mooney will stay a perennial power?
I think the thing with Mooney is they do a great job of getting great athletes into that school, and I mean, just the tradition and the rich history of Mooney in of itself is a draw for a lot of student athletes. So I think even when Mooney has a bad year or a down year such as this one, it's never more than a year or two away from them being right back in the thick of things and being competitive like they usually are again. Looking at the standings, though, and where Mooney ranks right now in Division 5, Right now they're 21, 1.97 average. 16 is Berkshire with a 4.7 average. So a significant gap between 16 and 21. Not that it's insurmountable. With the 3 games Mooney has left, Division 2 Warren Harding, a Division 3 Steubenville, and a Division 4 Ursuline. Yes, with the schedule that they have, if Mooney somehow is able to put it together and they go undefeated against the team in Division 2 ranked 8, a team in Division 3 that is ranked, Steubenville, I believe, is ranked number 8 as well. And then, of course, number 2 in Division 4 in Ursuline. I think those wins, again, all of them up divisions, up 3 divisions for Harding, up 2 divisions for Steubenville, and up 1 division for Ursuline. I think those 3 wins would probably be enough in the average department to put Mooney in the playoff picture. Then at that point, you need some losses to happen, but obviously I think some losses would happen too. Obviously in Division 5, I think teams will be playing each other. So you're going to see movement, but it would require Mooney to win. And I think the biggest thing Mooney needs to focus on is just themselves and saying we need to win each week and just focus on what we can control right now.
I wanted to know for Anthony, one, if you had anything that you wanted to add to what Ty just said about Mooney, and what are your overall impressions of Mooney this year? Do you think they're better than their record indicates? And then 2, for you, Anthony, I've been hearing murmurs for a while now that it's possible that we could see a merger, Mooney and Ursuline kind of combine. I've been hearing rumors of that could be coming around the corner sooner rather than later. So your thoughts, your impressions of Mooney, and are they better than the record indicates? And do you see kind of Mooney and Ursuline merging, Anthony?
I do think Mooney is better than their record would say, although they have really struggled this year to win, of course, with 1 win on the season. I think their offense is a little bit too one-dimensional. I mean, you have Devontae Smith, who is running extremely well, but they've been able to teams have been able to shut that down, and then they don't have really a second answer for Mooney. Their run defense obviously has struggled this season as well. So yeah, they have their problems. They're not a great football team this year, and the film will tell you that. But at the same time, they're playing teams that other teams in Division 3 wouldn't dream of playing a schedule like that. I mean, if every team in Division 5 had to play Mooney's schedule, there might be 2 or 3 teams that come out with a winning record, and maybe one other team that could come out like undefeated. They just play a ridiculous schedule, and obviously they should be used to that because Mooney always does it. So I'm not making excuses and saying like, oh, this year Mooney's schedule is so tough and they're not ready for it. But like at the same token, especially if they get into that playoffs, they're constantly playing teams that are not on most of these Division 5 team schedules.
Interesting stuff. Any thoughts on a possible merger?
Logistically, it might make sense, but I can't imagine alumni and the people that are the money in those schools would ever let it happen.
I don't know if you could ever.
It's such a great rivalry too. I just would that take some of the luster away from?
Yeah, the rivalry would be gone because they wouldn't be 2 schools.
Yeah.
You take all that history and tradition from those. That'd be tough. I'm
sorry. Ty's very, very faint. I lost my headphones here. I'm gonna try to get them back on. I'm trying to do the best I can. I wanted to leave about 10 minutes to ask Ty questions, but before we do get into that,
you got plenty of time.
Another thing I wanted to talk to both of you guys about. I don't know. Maybe you were. You can tell me. But if I had to just guess here, if I'm just guessing, I would say that you weren't shocked with Canfield's win over Austin Town Fish. Either one of you guys. What I was surprised with was their flat out domination. I thought that was a huge game. So, what were your impressions of not just the Cardinals winning, but really taking Fish out to the woodshed?
Ty, I'll let you take this, and I'll roll over there and try to help Scotty out a little bit.
So, I mean, from my initial impressions, and I was able to watch this one and saw what a great job both Richie Giuliano and Gary Niddle do for the Canfield Cardinals program as well in the broadcast booth. And honestly, in this game, what I saw too, and the biggest issue I think with Fitch was just getting pressure on Devin Sherwood was the Cardinals, and they did a great job again breaking through the Falcons offensive line initially and pressuring Sherwood. And there's been a lot of games where Sherwood, we saw it in Massillon, Washington. We saw it a little bit towards the end there of Ursuline as well. Saw it in Canton McKinley. He's been pressured a lot. And it's, I don't know if it's by design or what, but there's been design plays where I understand where you want the pressure to come into them in the slip screen passes and everything. I understand that the Falcons do a great job of screen passes and letting receivers make up big chunks of their yards. But I think honestly what we're seeing too is just, I don't know if it's missed assignments on the offensive line because the offensive line has great size and I think they do a great job, but we see it in the special teams too. Blocked field goals are becoming a big issue with the Falcons right now. So it's that front line of defense for the offensive line and in the special teams unit where there's some questions. And I don't think it's a skill issue with the Falcons. I think it's just a question of maybe some logistic things, just X's and O's, and where some things might need some changes. Falcons were also missing some guys too in the game against Canfield, some injuries and stuff. So the Falcons were a little bit beat up. Of course, you don't want to consider that any excuse and give all the credit to Canfield. At the end of the day, their program is one of the best. Their defense is one of the best in the area, and with good reason. They showcased it yet again. Toby Smith on the defensive line was an absolute terror the entire night on Fitch, as he does a fantastic job as he does usually. And I think you saw what Canfield brought to the table. They came prepared. They came ready. And I just think Fitch didn't have an answer for it once again when Sherwood was facing pressure right out of the gate.
We got Scotty all fixed up. We're good. Now, what I was surprised about wasn't that Canfield won. I think I picked Canfield to win this game. I was just surprised that it was as lopsided as it was. Canfield came out with their defense and shut Fitch down. I mean, no words around it. They just they took away everything Fitch wanted to do, and they kind of ran away with that game.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, pressuring Devin Sherwood right out of the gates. I mean, that you got to look to what the Falcons can do to get better. I still think that this team can get better throughout the season, and I think you look at their schedule too. You want to talk about teams that face a tough schedule. Fitch did not shy away from it either this year. They're up there with the Ursulines, the Moonies of the world, where they scheduled up, and they scheduled some Division I opponents in there too. And they faced a tougher schedule, faced one of the best in Division II in Massillon, Washington too. So not shying away from competition. I think this is why you're going to see Fitch be a pretty good team and a tough out in the playoffs, because I think that's what's keeping them afloat is their wins against some big teams. Because you got to remember now, Canton McKinley, I believe, is ranked number 4. Now, Canton McKinley has a very tough team, and Fitch owning a win over Canton McKinley is pretty big now in hindsight. So Fitch has proven they beat those big teams, those competitive teams, and they can. It's just a learning curve, I think, for Fitch, and I think they'll be able to get it as the season rolls along.
They really got to shore up pass protection, because that's 2 weeks in a row that Devin Sherwood has just had to run around trying to make plays with his legs, and they have to shore that up.
They have great size, like I said, on the offensive line, so I don't think it's a skill issue. I think it's just X's and O's and just making sure guys understand their assignments and what's to be expected of them, and just getting that initial jump on defenders.
couple of times in the plays I got to see. It looked like one guy would do one thing that he thought was going to happen for the play, and then someone would come up and block because he just, like you said, it was the wrong assignment.
Yeah. So I think it's just an X's and O's issue, and I mean it's the hardest thing I think on offense is just knowing what's expected of you each and every play. And I think once the Falcons figure that out, I think they'll be fine.
I think so too. And like you said, they've proven they can beat the big teams in the area, and they've beaten Canton McKinley this year, who's number 4 in the region. So no panic button yet for Fitch, but they have some work to do.
And then one final question I have for both of you guys as it relates to Canfield before I get into the trivia with Ty. Me and DJ kind of got into a heated debate.
Seems like it's happening every week now.
Yeah, a slash argument last week about, who's more important to the success during games. Is it coaches? Is it players? And I wanted to ask you, Mike Pavlansky, he's been at Canfield an awful long time. And there's you could tell there's stability there, there's continuity. But do you guys think with Canfield they've really taken it to another level? Do you give more credit to Mike Pavlansky, and do you just consider him an elite coach, or is it more, in your guys' opinion, the personnel he has to work with and just taking advantage of it? And I know the easy thing to say is a combination of both, but when you guys look at teams like this and what Canfield's been able to do with only one loss on the season, and if I remember correctly, it was a close loss to Dover, so they very well could have won that game. With them looking like a real power, do you think it's more Pavlansky or is it more the personnel?
Let me preface this by letting the folks at home know the conversation that Scotty and DJ were having was about NFL coaches and players. So I think this conversation gets a lot different when you talk high school coaches and players and how much you give credit to, than NFL when the players are literally paid to do their job and they're all-stars and every player on every team is the top 0.5% of football players in the world. I think I give a lot more credit to high school coaches than I do NFL coaches on the successes of teams. That being said, of course, Pavlansky is blessed with some really good players. Like that's obvious. There's not a lot of Brock Lowry's hanging around, not a lot of Toby Smiths hanging around. But at the same time, it takes a lot to take that talent at a high school level and make it a good sustainable product, not just a 1 year. We want. I think if it was just talent, it'd be 1 year, and then hey, bye, or one class.
Well,
but like Canfield's been having it for a very sustained amount of time, and credit to that has to be eventually given to Coach Pavlansky.
It's got to be at the high school level. It's very more 50-50 because you're right. You're not making more than the coach is to do his job. And the coach is more, not that they're not in mentor roles in the NFL, but it's a very, very bigger mentor role now, because when you're 14 to 18, you're learning to become a man essentially. And these are coaches that are sitting there helping guide you and having big influential roles in your life. And you look at it and you're right. Season by season, you got to credit the success. Success goes to the team as much as it should go to the coach, because teams out there playing the games. There are the ones out there on the field making the plays, winning the games. But at some point, you got to realize that sustained success over a course of time, in the high school level, Coach Pavlansky's had a huge role in that. And you talk about the players he gets. Yeah, he has a role in that as well, because he's built a program that is intriguing for other players to want to play at. And that's a thing that people I think gets lost in the shuffle a lot.
But I love that you brought up lost in the shuffle, because I think people look at it and think that Brock Lowry just showed up and he was already, he was good at football out of nowhere. Like, no, he developed in this program that Mike Pavlansky built, and that's why he's so good right now, because he went through this program, he developed in the program that Pavlansky built, and he got himself to this point. Brock Lowry isn't just someone that you picked off a tree and just put in the Canfield's program and said, there you go. You got an all-star quarterback. You had to grow him. You had to develop him. To stay with the plant kind of metaphor, since I painted myself in a corner, you got to water him every day, throw some dirt on him every now and then. Hey.
The funniest thing, and you'll hear coaches say it too, if you don't think that they aren't already scouting who their quarterback's going to be in 2029,
right.
You're sorely mistaken. They're looking as far back as 5th, 6th, 7th grade as to try to find their next guy, and they're developing them as early as that. Pop Warner.
I think the biggest difference in this conversation is in the NFL, and now you can start to see in college a little bit too with this national name, image, and likeness, movement. In NFL, it is absolutely the player's job to show up and execute. Like, they are literally paid to show up to practice, get their work done, prepare, and show up and execute. It's not high school kids' job. It's just what they're doing at the moment. It's not like their livelihood does not depend on them making that pass.
And why do they show up to every practice? Why do they not miss practices? Why do they give it 100% on the field? Because they don't want to let their coach down.
Exactly.
And they don't want to let down the traditions, the values that coach has implemented into them. And that's the biggest thing. It comes from a place of honoring the coach and respecting the program and respecting the tradition. And that's where I feel like, yes, high school coaches have a huge role, and why I feel it's more 50-50 on an even playing field.
And you see that you see that in college still. I mean, I think in the middle programs, like your middle of the Power 5 or your non-Power 5 programs, still abundantly there. Still a lot of coaches that are a lot of mentors for kids 18 to 22 that are still kind of learning how to not be a man anymore, but learning how to adult a little bit, learning how to be members of society, after they get out of college. And then, of course, in the NFL, I think at that point, the coach's job is just a little bit watered down. You make a game plan, you make in-game decisions, and you make a good press conference. And that's pretty much your job.
Yeah, and the best coaches too, we've seen them too across other sports. They still are involved in the player's life at the professional level, and it's a lot more hands off, because at that point, these are all grown ass men that we're talking about. Everybody is matured.
I still think in the big three professional sports, NFL, the coaches have the most impact on a team's success. I think they have a bigger impact than they do in the NBA, and a bigger impact than they do in MLB. I think, like I always said this, I think the MLB is a GM driven, it's important who you put in your farm system and what players you have in your whole organization.
Money you have too is huge.
Right.
No
So
salary cap.
I would say MLB is like driven by GMs almost a little bit, and in teams franchises success. NBA is like 90-10 player. It's all about the players. And NFL is more like, not saying head coaches 50-50, but head coaches have, in my opinion, more impact than any of the other sports.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that one as well. I mean, they have a huge impact, but I mean, in the same breath, it's still the players that go out there and do it. But
it's just not to talk about it like you would talk about a high school coach. It's just not the same.
No, it's not. And I mean, you gotta credit to the system, but yeah, I think it's very different too once you start going down to the high school level.
Scotty, I know you like to bring some national stories. Do you have any questions for us from the professional rings?
Well, I know we kind of ran out of time.
No, you're good. We still have 30 minutes till the end of the show.
Okay.
You're good.
I just wanted to know from you guys, Anthony, I heard it's expected that newly signed receiver Josh Gordon will make his debut with the Chiefs this week against the Bills. So starting with Anthony, do you think it's a signing? Obviously, it's a no-lose for the Chiefs, but do you see Josh Gordon having an impact? I mean, we already know how potent this Kansas City offense is. Do you think they even really need somebody like Josh Gordon? And what do you see his role kind of being in the offense?
Just talking Josh Gordon as a football player and letting go all the problems that he could have and has had in his career as far as staying on the field. Ty knows that all too well because the Patriots tried the Josh Gordon experiment.
Everybody's tried the Josh Gordon experience.
It's our turn, I guess. Just like from football, just that. I think the Chiefs looked at it and said, our one weakness on offense is red zone offense, scoring when we're inside the 20, because they don't have that receiver that can just go up and get a jump ball in the end zone. They got little guys that are speed burners that can catch 60, 70-yard bombs, but Tyreek Hill is not going to go up in the middle of the end zone and catch a ball. Like he's like 5'11". He's just not that receiver. And so basically in the red zone, it's teams are just doubling Travis Kelce and saying, try to beat us with your speed. And I think the Chiefs wanted kind of a taller, bigger frame receiver that they can use in the red zone. I think that's what they were looking at when they saw Josh Gordon. We need someone that can be effective in the red zone, because really our red zone defense, our red zone offense, not exactly great. And it wasn't great in that. One of the reasons why that Super Bowl got out of hand, if you remember, there were several drives in the beginning of that Super Bowl where the Chiefs got inside the 20 and had to settle for field goals. So they're trying to execute better in the red zone. And I think that's one of the reasons why they went out and got Josh Gordon, who's a bigger frame receiver. I think like 6'4", somewhere around. I mean, he's a tall built receiver that can go up and get jump balls in the end zone. So that's my opinion when I got him. I was kind of upset because I'm like, our defense is just looking absolutely god awful, and you go inside another offensive player. It's like Andy Reid woke up in the hospital after he went to the hospital after week 3, and he woke up from a fever dream, and the GM was like, Andy, we need to fix the defense, and he goes, screw it, get me more weapons.
That feels like what the Chiefs always their answer is to everything is just add more offense to fix their problems.
They just remind me of like Oklahoma State. Like we're gonna try to win all these games in shootouts.
It's like the Chiefs were like, we're not fixing the defense. Let's just score 50.
Yeah, it's like they're the Warriors of the NFL or something.
We'll see. I mean, right now Mahomes is having a little bit of interception.
Right now, the Chargers are your daddy in that division until you prove otherwise.
Yeah, I want to get to Ty, Anthony, but before I do, obviously I know you're as big a Chiefs fan as I am a Browns fan.
Can you tell?
I know in your heart you want them to win. But if you had to put money on it in Vegas this week and bet this game, do you see the Chiefs beating the Bills again and winning last year's AFC title game rematch?
What's the spread? And it's in Kansas City, too.
I think the Chiefs are giving 2.5.
I'll take the Chiefs.
So you like the Chiefs?
I'll take the Chiefs in that game. I still don't think Bills can have an answer for us on defense. And the Chiefs proved last week, if they don't turn the ball over, their offense is almost unstoppable. I mean, in the 2 games they lost, they moved the ball ridiculously well. They just turned it over 5 times. So as long as they protect the ball, I mean, how can you not bet against that offense? I mean, the defense will probably let the Bills do whatever they want. Hopefully, like last week against the Eagles, they forced a couple of field goals. There were no punts in that game, which is not something to be proud of if you're an NFL football team, that your defense allowed no punts at all against the Eagles. I mean, but they forced them to field goals, which I guess now is the job of the defense. Give up as much yards as you want and stop teams in the red zone. Because if teams kick field goals against the Chiefs, it's over. Like as soon as the Eagles kicked the field goal on 4th and 2 in the first drive, I was like, they don't have the guts to beat the Chiefs, because you cannot settle for field goals against Kansas City. Can't do it. You can't not go for it on 4th and 2 in the red zone and kick a field goal. And if you don't have the guts or the cojones to go for it on 4th and 2 inside the 20, you're not going to beat Kansas City. It's just that simple.
And even though you guys ended up getting the win in the first game because you dominated my Brownies in the second half. I did like Kevin Stefanski's aggressiveness early on in that game, knowing you got to score and score touchdowns.
Ravens too. I mean, the Ravens went for it on fourth down quite a bit of times. They never settled for a field goal. You have to be gutsy, and you have to be able to make some aggressive moves if you're going to beat Kansas City.
What about you, Ty? The Bills have really just demolished everybody since the disappointing opening week loss at home against the Steelers. People are talking Josh Allen along with Kyler Murray in the MVP conversation again. And of course, Mahomes is always going to be there. But how do you see this one as a Patriots fan? How do you see Bills Chiefs Part 2 playing out, Ty?
I mean, Bills defense has looked good, but they've also played the Texans, the Dolphins, the Washington football team. So without their quarterback, I believe it was injured. It was Heineke's first game too. Then at that point, so I mean it's a situation too where I think the Bills wins are the most impressive wins right now, and I've never really been impressed with. I think Josh Allen's a fantastic quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I've never been truly impressed with this Bills team. They've always just kind of looked to be trying to do what Kansas City's doing, but a smaller scale. I'm
sorry, I have a bad habit of interrupting, but like a poor man's Kansas City.
Don't make me roll over there again, Scotty.
Essentially, a poor man's Kansas City is what I feel about with
it's a green Kansas City, just like Josh Allen is a green John Elway, right? That's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to past members of Ysn's Running Point.
We won't say who.
Won't mention names. But no, one of the things that the Bills still don't have a running game. Like they are still just Josh Allen go win it on your shoulders.
Yeah.
I just think that's
you need to run the ball
tough way to win every week.
You need to run the ball to beat Kansas City too. I mean, you look at the two teams that beat them, San Diego and not San Diego, Los Angeles and Baltimore. They both ran the ball really well against the Chiefs, and they threw well. But you have to be able to get 5 yards on first down and stuff like that. So that's another reason why the Bills. I just don't think they're going to win in Kansas City.
I think where Kansas City. You just said it. They could have a significant edge there. I mean, I think Edwards-Helaire is a hell of a bad kid.
2 straight games with 100+ yards.
Biggest issue is ball security.
It's really not because, he's had a fumble this year, but that was his first fumble.
He's had a couple though.
That's his first fumble of his career. I mean, he didn't fumble at all his rookie season, not once. So yeah, it was in his head a little bit in the week 3 game against the Chargers, because obviously when you have the game losing fumble when your team's on the 40, it's going to eat at you a little bit. So I think in the Chargers game, it was in his head, and he's still young, his second year in the league. But then in this game against Philadelphia, he got back to himself. So
yeah, interesting. Before I get into Ty's questions, I just wanted to ask him, everybody seemed to be, the national pundits anyway, seemed to be elated with Mac Jones and his performance this past week, even in a losing effort against Tom Brady's Buccaneers. I just wanted to know from you, Ty, do you feel better now? I should rephrase it because I know you probably certainly feel better about the Patriots right now. But how much better do you feel about the Pats this season? You said you think they're a little bit away from contending for the division again. But does this give you hope that this season isn't a complete waste? And if you do feel so confident about Mac Jones, do you think Bill Belichick made the wrong call trying a 56-yard field goal instead of going for it on the 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, whatever it was? So I just wanted some quick thoughts from you, Ty.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I was also very impressed with the Patriots defense too. I think they played Tampa Bay very, very well. I think they limited the weapons Tom Brady can use and really just forced him into perfect throws. And Tom did what Tom usually does. He made those perfect throws down the stretch. But yeah, I was very impressed with how Mac Jones played. And you know what? I thought Mac Jones was a good pick for the organization. I still think he's about a year away from really breaking out, but I think he's on the right track and making smart decisions and smart throws too. It was a throw down the stretch that could have been picked off that I didn't agree with so much. But honestly, in that position, yeah, I don't know if I go for the 56-yard field goal, especially when it's a 4th and short scenario. And Mac Jones is playing as good as he's played up until that point. I think in that scenario, I would have preferred either have him sink with the ship or come out thriving. And I would have put the ball in his hands and said, all right, kid, go win it for us. This is the last play of the game. And I'd rather the ball be in the hands of my quarterback than put it in the legs of Nick Folk. So in that sense, yeah, I would have. But hey, it's a learning curve, and I think this is a Patriots team that's going to be very exciting to watch in the coming years.
Oh, Ty, you just had to know Tom Brady was going to win that game. I mean, there was no way he was going to lose it. You just had to.
Absolutely. And I mean,
guts. I mean, you just had to. Oh man, even when you had him on the ropes, he was struggling. You guys took that late lead. In your gut, you just had to be like, Tom's winning this.
I had that feeling the whole time because I knew the lead wasn't enough. And of course, Tom, the humble guy that he is, great guy. He had a great interview afterwards. So yeah, I mean, it was a great game, and I was very confident. I think the defense excited me almost a little bit more than Mac Jones did for how well they played Tampa Bay. That
hug between Brady and Belichick was like the hug you give after a first date when you know there's not going to be a second. That's what.
Yeah, it was literally like, nice seeing you. Out of there.
All right, Scotty, it is your time to shine, buddy. You have about 12 minutes to. I'm going to give you 12 minutes on the clock after we hit 142 to stump Ty. So we got 20 seconds to prepare yourself, Scotty. You ready?
I was born ready, man.
Born ready. Really?
I think so, man.
10 seconds. Here we go. Start your trivia questions. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, here we go. And just so you know, Ty, this first one for you, it is a 4-parter.
Oh, jeez.
A lot of baseball today. Okay, Ty. The first World Series, it was played in the year 1903. I want to know the winning pitcher of the game, the losing pitcher of the game.
Oh, wait, which game? Because you just said the World Series.
Game one, I'm sorry. The winning pitcher of the game, the losing pitcher of the game, the guy that hit the first home run in World Series history, and the stadium the game was played at.
All right, so Ty, just to recap, you have 4 answers, and this counts as 4 answers like in the total. So you have winning pitcher of Game 1 in the World Series, losing pitcher of Game 1 in the first World Series, first home run hit in World Series history, and what stadium Game 1 in the first World Series was played at. So do your best.
Jeez, oh man, Scotty always coming with these essays for me. So in the first one, it was.
My guess is E, all the above.
Yeah, I believe this one was at. This one was at the Huntington Avenue baseball grounds because this first one, if it was in 1903, I believe it was in Boston. It was Pittsburgh Pirates at Boston. I think at that time they were the Americans.
Yeah, you are right on the location and the name. So That's one plus a bonus
Plus
for getting that it was the Boston Americans. So now I need who hit the first home run and the winning and losing pitchers of game one of the first ever World Series.
So the winning pitcher, well, this one was interesting because the losing pitcher was Cy Young. Winning pitcher was Deacon Felipe. And then the losing pitcher, Cy Young, lost, I believe, because Jimmy Sebring hit a home run off of Cy Young.
He sounded pretty confident, Scotty.
Damn, are you good, Ty?
So the 4-part question kind of backfired because Ty went 4 for 4.
Yeah.
And now he is up.
I studied baseball questions too.
22-5 total.
Yeah, wow.
All right, Scotty, you got about 9 minutes to go on your clock.
Okay, here we go. Sticking with the baseball theme, a lot of baseball today. Only one question I believe that I have that isn't baseball for
You're screwed because Ty studies baseball.
I want to know who is the only Brave player, the Braves organization, to play for the Boston Braves, the Milwaukee Braves, and the Atlanta Braves.
All right, so that's a 1-part question, but it's also kind of 3 a little bit. But you only get one answer.
One answer for 3. This one's interesting because I got to think about the years and where each organization was called the Braves and when the organization moved to. So I feel like, because thinking about the years and where it would have lined up, was it Eddie Matthews?
Oh
Yeah,
man, what?
Sniped.
You know
It sounded like a guess too.
You have it, and you're like, it's like you have that. You know you don't have that.
I was going through other possibilities in my mind.
Just
But
say Eddie Matthews.
5.
23-5. Wow. Yeah, I guess I am screwed, but this is the best I could come up with today.
More baseball?
Yes, more baseball. Who hit the first Grand Slam in the history of the Major League All-Star Game, and what year? What year was it?
So you have 2 answers now, Ty. You got who hit the first Grand Slam in All-Star Game, and then what year it happened.
That's I'm trying to think of what year All-Star Game started. I feel like
take this time to talk. That if you want to leave your answers in the comment section, brought to you by Boardman Mitsubishi. We'll see them. We won't be able to put them up until Ty answers, but who knows? You might be right before Ty is.
The year.
Ty looked like he was frozen. He was so stuck in thought.
So I think it was in 1983.
Is he got the year right?
Incorrect.
Ooh.
Got you there, Ty.
I thought it was Fred Lynn. Grand
It
Slam.
is Fred Lynn, but the year is 1975.
Ooh.
I thought it was in 1983.
Scotty, you cut the lead to 24-6, and you have about 5 more minutes to try to get a couple of questions.
I need my moderator to check the answers.
Okay. I got another one for you, Ty. This is the only non-baseball one, so maybe I'll get you. I'll get you here. Who was the ABA's all-time scoring leader, and how many points did he score?
ABA ended and merged with the NBA in the. I'm not going to help you out, Ty. I almost just helped you out. What am I doing? Now, you figured out yourself, a robot.
I'm just thinking of the number. It's Louis Dampier. And
is he right for the number? Is he right for the name?
He's right with the name.
That's another one. 25-6. Can he make it 26-6?
I think the number. $13726, 13,726. 13,726.
13,726.
I have here. I have it says on my sheet now. You could check this, but from my research, I have 15,239.
All right, I will be the deciding factor, and I'll do some research to see.
Take it to the judge.
Scotty, you have time for another question while I research this one.
Okay, this is probably gonna be a layup for you, Ty. I'm guessing here, but of course, Babe Ruth retired. Knowledgeable baseball fans know that Babe Ruth retired with 714 home runs, the most all time. When he did retire, he set the record, though it was in the year 1921. He set the record for most home runs all time. How many home runs did he hit to get the record, and whose record did he break?
All right, before you answer that, Ty, what number did you say for Louis Dampier?
13,726, I think.
According to remembertheaba.com, 13,726 is on the dot.
So, yeah.
Check that All-Star game, man. I want to know that All-Star game. Was that 75 or 83?
All right, he's
I'm throwing the challenge flag there on that one now.
You answered the last question. And the next, you got a minute and a half. He's in deep thought, not frozen. Do not adjust your screens.
Again, not that you need any clues, but Babe Ruth set this record in 1921 with how many home runs, and whose record did he, what player's record did he beat?
Well, 1921 was the year I know he hit 59 that year. I know he hit that. I'm getting caught up on who he passed when he did. That's what I'm thinking about right now, because I know he hit 59 homers in 1921. I'm thinking, though, at the time,
you got under a minute, Ty. The clock's ticking, and if you run out of time, that counts as a win for Scotty. Actually, you got 10 seconds.
Oh, now he's. Oh my God!
Answer 5, 4, Answer. Oh, you out of time. 154 is hit, and Scotty gets the point. 26-7. But judges confirm that 1983 was the first All-Star Grand Slam. So Ty, you were right on that one.
So I get my change back.
Dave is screwing me, man. I need someone else.
Dave's giving you wrong answers.
Yeah,
Yep, the All-Star player of the game was Fred Lynn, whose grand slam in the third inning was the first in All-Star history. National League manager Whitey Herzog. Go Royals.
I need a new like statistician, man. Dave's not cutting.
He immediately passes the buck to Dave.
According to Dave's,
Dave needs to check his sources.
According to Dave's sources, Dave's research here, he set the record Babe Ruth in 1921, way back when he only had 139 homers. So he set the record with 139 home runs, and he beat Roger Connor, who played in the 1800s. He had 138.
See, that was the thing. I was trying to think of those really old-time players that were hitting home runs. I don't know if I would have necessarily even come up with that one. I know who Roger Connor was, but I didn't even think about the fact because, I mean, it was so few home runs at the time to be the all-time leader.
All right, thanks for the history lesson, guys. We got to go as we get ready for the Casual Sports Podcast coming up from 2 to 3 and the Power Hour from 3 to 4. We thank Scotty, as always, for joining us. And tomorrow on the show, we have a jam-packed one. We will be releasing an interview with Phil Simone of the Canfield girls soccer team, as well as Joe Simon, the Liberty football team, at 1:40. And we'll hit Julia Rapp, the winner of the Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley from Columbiana, at 1:15. Don't miss it tomorrow from 12 to 2. See ya.